Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So if you are newly single, you got dumped, you went through a divorce, that kind of thing, and now you're finally ready to get back out there in the dating world and meet some women, there are several kinds of women that you need to avoid in the dating process if you're seeing multiple signs that I'm about to get into in this video. Hi, I'm Jeff Campbell from DivorcedParentsClub.com, and I'm on a mission to help other divorced guys just like me navigate these new waters that we find ourselves in. So whether that's dealing with a toxic ex, dating following a divorce, or co-parenting issues, you name it, I cover it on this channel. But let's get into talking about today's topic, which is looking for warning signs of toxic women that you want to avoid getting into a long-term relationship with. So the first one I want to mention is insecurity. All of us have insecurity issues to some degree, and women especially are bombarded at a very young age, especially in social media, with body shaming issues and things like that. So it's not uncommon for women to have some insecurity issues too. What I'm talking about is something that's much more deeply rooted in that, deeply rooted in maybe childhood trauma or abuse, the kind of thing that you're not going to be able to fix. Of course, you shouldn't try and fix anybody, but these kinds of issues are often insurmountable without a lot of therapy. And that's just not your problem at this point. You're dating these women, you barely know them. You don't need to be jumping in as a white knight to try and save these women. If they're that messed up, you need to run in the opposite direction. Then liars is another one, and you're not going to be able to tell if a woman is a liar on a first date, of course, but if you've had several dates, start to look for inconsistencies in her story. Maybe she's telling you something that doesn't quite match up with something that she told you previously, and you're just kind of getting some inconsistent stories and some wishy-washy stories and some vagueness, and basically you're getting those screaming red flags that, hey, something doesn't add up here, something doesn't feel right. And again, don't kick her to the curb for just one of these issues. Look for multiple issues and ideally multiple instances of these issues. That way, you've got a solid foundation to make your judgment on and scream and run in the opposite direction. Next is materialism. All of us like nice things, but if she's constantly wanting you to buy her really nice things, and when you go to a restaurant, she immediately orders the most expensive thing on the menu every single time, that is a red flag. Good women don't do that. Now, it's okay if you encourage them. Oh, we're at a nice restaurant, honey. Go ahead and get what you want. That kind of thing is fine. But if she's consistently ordering the most expensive things and expecting you to pay for it, that's a red flag. Then rudeness, especially rudeness to like servers or bartenders, that kind of thing. If she's not nice to them, what makes you think she's going to be nice to you in the long run? Bitterness about exes. All of us have exes, otherwise we wouldn't be here. And all of us occasionally feel frustration or anger or bitterness towards our ex or maybe multiple of our exes. But if that's what she's constantly talking about and focused on and trash talking them and never has anything good to say, that's a red flag. The way I'm looking at it is, someday she's going to be talking about me this way to somebody else. So run in the opposite direction if she's constantly bad-mouthing her ex. Bad moms. If you are dating a single mom and you notice signs that she's not really a good parent, maybe she's not caring and considerate and loving and nurturing and neglecting and that kind of, I'm not talking about blatant abuse, which is obviously serious. I'm talking about more subtle signs that the kid just isn't a priority, and it should be. Her child should be her number one priority. You should not expect to be her number one priority. And if she does things that prioritize you over her children, that's a really bad sign. She's not a good mother, and you don't need to be dating or in a long-term relationship with someone who's not a good mother, because those character flaws are going to show up in a lot of other ways too. Then if she talks down to you, if she's belittling you and making like snide, sarcastic comments at your expense, a little bit of that is fun. A little bit of that is good-natured. A lot of that is a really bad sign that she's just going to, frankly, end up being a bitch. And you don't need to be in a relationship with a woman like that. Next one is that she complains a lot, especially about you. And it kind of ties in with what I just said, but you never feel good enough for her. You constantly, you're doing more and more and more to try and please her, and you just never feel like it's enough. And you don't know how much would be enough. And it's damaging your own self-esteem. If she's making you feel that way, you need to end things right now and get the hell out. And then lastly, a woman who is constantly seeking validation. She's either constantly asking you for compliments and strokes, I'm not talking about the occasional, hey, does this dress look nice? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about she constantly needs your attention, your comments, and when she's not getting it from you, she's getting it from other men, maybe online or maybe in person. When she goes out with her girlfriends to go meet up at a bar for drinks, is she dressing like really skanky where it's obvious she's trying to get male attention? If you're seeing signs like that ties in with insecurity, which was the first one I talked about. But when she's seeking that level of validation, it's hard to know just how far she's going to go to get that validation and what things she might do that you might find totally inappropriate in that process. So you want to avoid being in a long-term relationship with a woman like that. Of course, you can date women who fall into some of these buckets, and you can even have them as, frankly, as fuck buddies or playmates, but you don't want to be in a relationship with women who consistently display two or more of those things that I just went over. Real quick, before we keep going, if you like this video and you want to see more videos like it, go ahead and hit that like button, then smash the subscribe button and the bell notification button too. That way you get notified of future videos that I put out, but YouTube will also start showing you more videos that it knows you're gonna like, and you're helping me grow my channel and help more people. So you hear the term low value woman a lot, especially on YouTube, on channels like mine. So what exactly is a low value woman, and what are the signs that you should look for in a low value woman? After all, you should see yourself as a high value man. You should see yourself as a prize to be won, not someone who just is going to take whatever scraps the first woman he comes across throws him. So you should see yourself as the prize. You're a good guy. You've got a good job. You've got a mission. You've got a purpose. You're focused. Maybe you lost some of that focus going through your divorce or your breakup, but now you're back and you're a prize to be won. She needs to see that and appreciate that, and low value women won't. So what are the signs of a low value woman? I mentioned this earlier, but one of the signs of a low value woman is a woman who consistently picks expensive restaurants and consistently orders the most expensive thing on the menu every single time when you're paying. That is a huge red flag of someone who just doesn't have a lot of value and integrity. They're just basically out to use you. They don't really care about you. Another one is when she's constantly on her phone during dates. All of us get on the phone occasionally, and sometimes we have legitimate issues. If she's out on a date with you and she has kids and the babysitter's texting her, of course she needs to be on her phone to deal with whatever issue is happening at home with her kids. That's not what I'm talking about. But if she's always on her phone, she's on social media, she's on TikTok, Instagram, whatever, and she's not paying attention to you, that's a huge red flag that she's a low integrity woman. Next is she doesn't try and get to know you. You're asking her questions, you're getting her talking, and you're getting her talking a lot. If you're in the right frame of mind, she should be doing 80% of the talking. But when she asks you questions, she should be trying to get to know you, and she should be asking you informative questions that really get to the heart of who you are as a person. And if she's not doing that, if she's just going a mile a minute about how great she is, that's a huge red flag that she doesn't frankly really care about you or find you that interesting, and she really likes to talk about herself. I also want to point out that when you're dating someone, it can often take up to 90 days for you to really begin to see who they really are. A lot of people can hide those negative qualities that we all have for the first 90 days. And so they're putting on a show for you essentially. And you don't want to be making a decision about jumping into a relationship until you're around the 90-day mark. That way the polished veneer has kind of come off a little bit and you've kind of seen who they really are as a person. I don't want you to focus on their flaws. We all have flaws, including you and including me. So I don't want you to focus on that, and I don't want you to expect some sort of mythical level of perfection. But I do want you to look for huge red flags of low integrity, because that is not something that is going to change over time. And over time, if you get into a long-term relationship or even marry somebody with low integrity, it's just going to end really badly. So what kind of woman is good? After all, we've talked about a lot of negative things, and I don't want you to mistake that for me thinking that all women are bad, or I'm like in the red pill community or any of that bullshit. That is not true. There are a lot of fantastic women out there. In fact, most of my exes I would call fantastic women. We just weren't compatible in one way or another, or she made a mistake or I made a mistake, or both. But there are some really good qualities that you can look for that signal that this is a woman to be in a long-term relationship with or get married to. So the first is honesty. Look for someone who is honest. Honesty is the backbone of trust, and you cannot have a successful relationship without trust. So look for someone who is honest. Even brutal honesty is better than candy coating something to spare your feelings. The woman who is now my girlfriend told me early on when we were first dating that she didn't really believe that monogamy was made for human beings. She didn't really think that that was in our nature to be monogamous. I disagree. I like being in monogamous relationships. And for the most part, she has been too. But she was honest with me about that. She made a commitment to be monogamous because she also acknowledged that monogamy is a choice we can make. Whether or not that's human nature or not is for another discussion. But we can choose that if it's important to us. And it became important to her when she wanted to be in a relationship with me. Next, look for smart women. Intelligent women. I don't necessarily mean they went to college and they have some fancy degree, but can they carry on a conversation? Do they have interesting things to say? These are the kinds of things that you want to look for, not a woman who just sits there and answers yes or no to your questions, because after a while, and not that long, it's going to get really boring. Next, look for a woman who is kind. Kind to you, kind to servers, kind to bartenders, kind to her children or your children or other people. Look for a woman who regularly displays signs of genuine kindness. Also look for a woman who is accepting. Don't look for a woman who is constantly nitpicking you and constantly getting on you about changing this or that or this habit or this habit. Look for a woman who accepts you exactly as you are, and you should do the same in return to her. Also look for a woman who is supportive. All of us have dreams and goals, and I want to help my girlfriend achieve her dreams, and she wants to help me achieve mine. And that's what you want. You want someone who will help lift you up, who, when you've had a bad day, she's there with a drink in her hand and rubbing your shoulders and making it all better and helping you achieve your dreams, both in the short term and in the long term. Then I want you to look for someone who is low drama. I actually had that on my dating profile, and my current girlfriend laughs about it because she considers herself to not be low drama. And I'm going to get into that in a minute in the video. But look for someone who is not constantly exploding drama and spewing things and constantly on the attack or feeling butthurt by something that you said or constantly needing validation or constantly creating drama because that's what is comfortable and familiar to her based on how she was raised as a child. Those are huge red flags. So look for someone who is relatively low drama, who's not constantly exploding and having outbursts and temper tantrums and things like that. Then look for someone who is loyal, someone who is steadfastly loyal and in your court, who's not constantly jumping ship. You're not going to know that immediately, of course, but if you start talking about your dating history and track records and you notice that, well, gosh, she's had 8 boyfriends in the last year and, no one ever seems to last more than 6 weeks, that's kind of a red flag that she's maybe not loyal, or maybe her expectations are too high, or maybe she's just really poor at choosing men, in which case you might be the next victim. And then lastly, this gets into the insecurity I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, but look for a woman who is confident. All of us have some level of insecurity, but look for a woman who is confident in herself. She's confident in her appearance, she's confident at work, she's confident in her abilities to do the things that really matter to her. Doesn't mean that she won't have an off day, doesn't mean she won't strive to improve something over time. All of us should be constantly striving to improve ourselves with that growth mindset where we know that we can change anything about ourselves if we put the time and the energy into it. But look for a woman who is overall very confident about herself, because you don't want to have to be constantly dealing with her insecurities. So what makes a man choose a woman? Well, men are visual creatures, no big surprise there. So the first thing we are going to notice is the attractiveness of a woman, how sexy she is, how does she carry herself, what does she look like, what clothing is she wearing, how does her hair look, things like that. Now, we all have different types and styles that we prefer. I tend to prefer dark hair or colored hair and tattoos. You may be the complete opposite, but that is the first thing that we're going to notice. How is their appearance? Then confidence, which I just talked about, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but we do love women who are confident. And we are always going to choose a confident woman over an insecure woman unless we are codependent or have insecurity issues of our own, in which case we think that, oh, I can fix her, and maybe if I fix her, she won't leave me, and that kind of fear of abandonment and codependency and things like that. And if that's where you are, then you need to be seeing a therapist also to try and work past those things. I've been in that boat, and I've worked with a therapist to try and move past those things too. So I know you can do it if that's you. The next one that men look for, again, this is like kind of normal, confident, masculine men. Those kinds of men look for a woman who's willing to be a little bit submissive to them. Men and women are biologically and emotionally inherently bred to play different roles, and no matter what the media tells you, that's just how it is. And men and women are different from one another, and that's okay. It doesn't mean one's better than the other, but to not acknowledge the differences is just ignorant. So men and women play different roles, and masculinity is always going to be more dominant. Now, that doesn't mean overbearing, doesn't mean domineering, doesn't mean misogynistic, doesn't mean any of those things, but it does mean that the man is typically going to be leading in the relationship and the woman is going to be a little bit more submissive. Of course, there are exceptions to that rule, and if the sexual polarity is simply reversed, that's okay. If the woman is naturally more masculine, the man is naturally more feminine, that's okay. But when both are masculine or both are feminine, the sexual polarity is lost, and that's a relationship that's not likely to last very long because you need that sexual polarity to kind of keep the spark alive. Then compatibility, similar interests, similar things that you like to do. Doesn't mean you have to like and enjoy every single thing that they do. I have never met a person on the planet who is 100% compatible with what I like, but my current girlfriend is more compatible with me and my tastes and my likes than probably anybody I've ever been with. She's amazing, and that's what you want to look for. Women who have shared interests, shared goals, shared value systems, and just overall a level of compatibility that's really high. And then I mentioned drama a couple of times in this video, and I do want you to choose a woman who is low drama, but let's be honest, if there's no drama ever, it can get kind of boring. I once was in a relationship with a woman who was very drama-filled. And at first it was exciting, and then after a while it got to be too much and we broke up. And then the next woman I was with was the complete opposite. She was so sweet and so kind, and there was no drama. And at first it seemed very refreshing. It was like, oh my God, this is so great. But after a while, it wasn't as exciting anymore. It lacked that spark that a little bit of drama gives us. And, I think most guys would agree, we like a little bit of drama. We just don't want too much drama all the time. And we don't want the drama necessarily to be directed at us. But a little bit of excitement, a little bit of spark, a little bit of, sizzle is a good thing. And men will always choose that unless they've just come out of a relationship with a high drama woman. Men will always choose a woman that has a little bit of that because it's exciting to us. Anyway, I hope you like this video. If you do, please leave me a comment down below. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you'd like to see in a future video. But for now, I'll see you in the next video.